through it together. I've got the syllabus pulled up because you see it says weekly assignments due weeks 5 through 12. Anybody see that? What week are we in? Week 5, right? We're not gonna do that. We're actually gonna have our first video due week 7. And I'm doing that on purpose just to give you guys a little bit more time because I need to show you still Premiere. And I want to make sure that I do right by you. I said that from the beginning. I don't want to just throw you out there. That being said, Santana's of the world, you go ahead and get started because you already know what you're doing. And I'll send you an email just to approve what you sent me, but you can go ahead and get started. If you want to get started, you can. Yes. I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
What about the topic?
Huh?
The topic.
I'm approving them out as we go, but I got a lot of stuff coming in right now that I'm grading, like a lot. So you just got to bear with me because I'm teaching 4 classes this semester. I normally don't. And so I've got a lot going on, but bear with me. I will get them out. If I haven't said completely no, I just haven't responded to you, you're probably okay. Like I just told Santana, I know I've looked at hers. I just hadn't responded back yet. So she's good to go. And I already know she can edit too, so she can kind of move forward. And that goes for any of you. Spencer, I know you're in your other class. If you want to get started, you can go ahead and get started now. Again, let's count. That's week 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's about 9 weeks. I still need from you within that 9 weeks, 6 videos minimum to pass this class. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-ish. Yes?
So if we start posting that next week, that wouldn't count like against us or anything?
No, it don't, nothing to count against you. It's only going to help you. I am going to post a midterm around week 7 too to let you know where you are in the class. You don't have many grades at that point. So by then, technically, if you have your proposal in and it's approved and you've been showing up and you got good attendance, you got an A in this class. But I mean, there's really nothing else to go off of for that. I am going to give you a subscriber goal once we get a little bit closer, but I need to get through the next 2 weeks before I can kind of assess. And it's just because I normally don't teach 2 editors. We'd be moving on after today normally, but I need to show you the other editor just in case. I do not anticipate us having a COVID outing. I think we'll be in class the whole time of this semester. That being said, you will have access to these computers in class. So we really could stop at Final Cut, but I do want to show, I got a few Windows folks in here, and I want to make sure they're comfortable as well. All right, so again, first video is going to be due week 7. I will send an email just to remind you of that, and then we'll adjust everything else accordingly. We are going to forego the editing practice, and the editing practice is actually going to be a 2-in-1, and let me show you this, just so it makes sense. There's normally a video editing practice that should be happening right now. You're doing it with me right now, and I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to give you some time to do it and play with these files, whether you're in Premiere or whether you're in Final Cut, but I'm not going to give you a grade for that. I'm going to grade your practicing on the first video that you post. So it's going to be a 2-for-1, because that's going to give me an idea of what you can and cannot do. So it's not going to be a graded exercise there. Just follow along with me as best you can and then go with these links. That's the beauty of me recording right now. You'll be able to see and do the same stuff that I'm working on. So it should be, you should have a backup. So everything that I do in class is not like it's going to go out the window. Go home, watch the video, pause it, watch it again, pause it. You should be able to see kind of where I'm going and make sure that you're getting the same stuff. Sir.
The clips that you shot and gave us, that's our practice, right?
Yeah, it's a practice, but I'm not going to use it as a grade. Normally what would happen in this class is I would teach you Final Cut or Premiere, then I would have you edit the clips. We're going to edit these clips together in both Premiere and Final Cut. So therefore, I'm not going to give you a grade on that because that's like me saying the answer is A, B, C, D to the test. Then I hand you the test and you write A, B, C, D. And I don't want to do that. What I am going to grade you on is the very first video that you post.
We shot.
Correct. The one that you shoot yourself and you edit yourself is the one that will be your practice. The intro video is super easy, so I don't want anybody to get stressed out. That's the first one that you will post, and it's just a describer for your content. What's it going to be about? Give an idea of what people can expect to see. So it's a low pressure kind of upload. I'm gonna talk you through that once we get to this. I'm gonna show you from start to finish, the edit all the way to the upload. And it's gonna be on video, which should be cool. All right, let me share my screen so that we can get out of this. Any questions other than that? So week 7, 2 weeks from now is go time. Hope y'all had a great weekend. All right, so the first thing that I want to show you is how we can access the library in Final Cut that we've already created. So remember we created a library, right? That was the first step. And the library houses what 2 other things? Help me out. Look at them notes. Somebody, anybody, help me out. What does the library house? If you can't answer those questions, I want you to take notes. Santana, help them out. There you go, event and project. I've had her in class before, so I know she knows. She just giving y'all a chance. Event and project. What's another name for the project, Santana, that we like to call it? Absolutely. Timeline. So inside, remember I talked about nested dolls. Does anybody remember that? And I talked about one thing being inside, another thing being inside, another thing. You have 3 things that you need to be focused on for this to work. You have a library, you have an event, and you have a project. How can you tell what a library looks like? Anybody? It has an insignia. What does it look like? 4 stars. Excellent. Yes. What does an event look like? How many stars does it have? 1. Whoever said that? Yes. Then I will show you what the project looks like. It looks like a clapboard. And if you don't know what a clapboard is, anybody ever watched the movie and they had the little thing that said action? That's what the project looks like. So I want to make sure you know what those things look like so you don't get confused. Jot this down too. The project is always hidden inside of an event. It's always inside of an event. It's not going to be a standalone element. So I don't want you to get confused. Remember nested dolls. So you have the library, you have the event, and inside the event you have the project. I'm going to show you that now. That's just in Final Cut. Premiere is similar, but not exactly the same. It's pretty straightforward, old school as I like to call it. Once you get past these little things, these little idiosyncrasies as I like to call them, Final Cut goes really fast. It's just getting past this stuff, this very beginning stuff. But this very beginning stuff is what will screw you up when you try to edit. And you go to the lab or you go to a friend and then you call me at 1 in the morning because you've been editing all day and you forgot one of these beginning steps and you're screwed. You're going to be frustrated and I'm going to tell you what's the first, and you're going to be like, oh man, I forgot. I just hurried up and jumped in there. So it's very important to understand these steps. Let's review one other thing real quick. Where do we want our stuff to save? Do we want it to save to the computer hard drive or do we want it to save to our hard drive? We want to save to our hard drive. Why do we want to save to our hard drive? It can slow your computer down, but more importantly, what can you do with your hard drive? You can plug it into another computer, correct? So it makes you multi-versatile. That transcends any editor, whether it's Premiere, whether it's Final Cut. You want to save things that you're editing, editable objects, to an external hard drive whenever possible. It's just what you do. Now that we know that, there are 2 ways that we can open said library. We could open up Final Cut. I don't like to open it that way because I like to know where my stuff is. So I know for a fact that I saved the library to my editing hard drive. So I'm going to double click on my hard drive and then I'm going to find that specific edit, which should be somewhere in here. Probably going to be in my work files, video 1 maybe. I gotta find where I put it, y'all. Hold on. Here it goes right here. Had to remember what I named it. Now, normally, if this wasn't a practice, I would jot this down. And the way I work, and you don't have to work like this, I have a big whiteboard in my office. Actually, I got 2 of them, and they make like a U like that. And so what I do is I go through a process of elimination. So let's say I'm shooting Max's portraits, senior portraits. So Max will be on the big board, but then I got an event for Morris this weekend as well. He'll be up number 2. Then I transfer those events over. That way I can check them off and see everything I need. Under Max, I'll have a list of what equipment I need, what edits she needs, so I can follow what's going on. So this name that says 3235 Fall Project, if I'm working on that, that'll be on my board. Does everybody follow that? That way I won't have to remember. I can look up and say, okay, what's up this week? And then as I'm done, I check things off and I move them over to the other board. That's just an efficient way for me to work because I can make notes really quick and update things, and I can kind of stay current on what's going on. Or if a project gets bumped, I'll draw arrows going different ways with different colors. And I've been doing like that for years, and it works out really well. Let me move that out of the way as best I can. So we're going to double click on this 4 stars because those 4 stars let us know that we're in a library, and it's going to in turn launch Final Cut. Final Cut's going to open, and it's going to populate everything that I have so far. Now, Morris was asking earlier about pulling content in. When you have a single event over here, you can pull content in because there won't be anything over here. There'll be an arrow and it'll say import. I use this arrow. You can also go up here and go to file, and you can go to import, and you can go to media. You can also hit Command and I to import. There's 4 ways to import media. That being said, we have our library and we have 4 separate events. Somebody help me out. Why do we have 4 separate events showing? What did I do? I segmented the footage, right? And I segmented that footage based on what it would be. One of those could be interviews if I had interviews, right? One of those could be car B-roll, right? One of those could be full screen graphics if we had them, right? So I did that to stay what? Or it's all in the name of organization. So now everything's not just blocked into one event and I'm searching through trying to find it. It technically is if I go up here to the library. It shows me everything, and I want you guys to look. I don't know how well y'all can see it. Let me find the clip better. See how it's got that little jagged edge on the edge here? Remember I told you I don't like that because this is all one clip going down. So if I hit this little movie strip here and I click on it and I slide the timer all the way to the left, it's going to shrink that clip down, and then you have single clips. See how that is? I like that a lot better. But all of the clips are going to be in your library because everything's in your library. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't edit out of the library directly. I edit out of the actual events. So if I go to the city, I've got just the city shots. You follow me? See how less intimidating that is? I don't have 60 clips or 45, 43, whatever it was. I've got 4 to deal with at this particular time. Then if I go to games, I've only got this many clips to deal with. I need to do the same thing. I need to pull it back. I've only got this many clips. I do that for sanity's sake because when you start, it's like anything else. You start kind of feeling it when you start editing. And as you're going through and you're doing different things, you may say, oh, I need another city scene. You don't want to be dragging through 50. Well, let's say you had 500 clips. Imagine scrolling through all those trying to find the city clip. I've seen people edit that way. I'm done 3 hours before them because I go to my city folder that may have 20 clips and I can easily find what I want and get out of there and move on to the next one. Whereas they got to go find them. Then they got to find out where they are. Then if they didn't shoot them on the same day, they're all jumbled. It's just, I don't like to do that. I do the same in Premiere. Remember we talked about the house and we talked about there being rooms in the house. The house is the library, the rooms are the events. And you want to make sure that you have the room set up so that you can get what you need from each room. Right now, if I were to say, hey, where do you keep your glasses? You can tell me which room and where they are, right? Same, no different here. If you're looking at my edit, you need to know if you need to keep, in my case, the glasses are the city shots. You know to click on the city's folder, and that's where they are. We could go even further and label even further. It depends on how your brain works. If it were my wife, she would label the shots LaGrange, Atlanta, then she would break down West Side, Atlanta, Midtown. She would really get deep. I don't get that deep. But it depends on how organized you want to be. I'm a semi-organized person because I'm a normal creative. Like my wife's like, I hate her files because it's like a freaking, what's that, Rubik's Cube? It's just too much. You open a folder, then there's a folder, then there's a folder, then there's a folder. I'm like, I quit. So this is what you want to get to. Now, what I'm doing right now is called skimming. Some people call it scrubbing, but you can say scrubbing or skimming. But what I'm doing is I'm moving along the clip and I'm doing is sliding my finger just to see if I see something I want to see. That's not really relevant until we set up a actual project, but I just want to kind of let you know. I want to look in here. Remember I said a clapboard? Does this kind of look like a clapboard? So what do you think that is? What is this? It says it above it. The project. And what's another name for the project? Timeline. I'm going to double click on this. The reason I'm saying this, and I'm not trying to intimidate you guys or make you feel like you don't know, because you obviously do know. Sometimes when you open Final Cut, your project's missing and you go to panic. And you're like, oh my God, where is it? It's just hidden. It's going to be inside of one of these events and it's always at the top. Don't panic. It's either going to be in this one. You look at the top. Nope. It's going to be in this one nope. It's going to be in this one. Nope. It's going to be in this one because that's why I put it in the first one. So when I click it, it's going to populate. Now we have a timeline. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We need to check one more thing and we'll be ready to edit. How do I check to make sure that my file is going to go to my hard drive? How do I do it? Does anybody remember? It's 2 simple steps. Nope. Not. I've got everything set now. How do I know before I lay the first edit that everything's going where I want it to go? I need to use my inspector. And remember, the inspector's over here. There's nothing to inspect because I ain't clicked on anything, right? So I need to click on what to make sure it's in the right place. What holds everything? The library. So if I click on this library, watch what happens in this inspector over here. Ta-da! And then what does it say right here? Edit drive, right? What's the name of my drive called? Move this out of the way. What's the name of my drive called? So am I in the right place? Ta-da! If you take a few seconds, especially my Final Cut folks, this whole setup that I just did, outside of logging the video, which is you got to take time to look at the video that you shoot and get the right video. But if you take 3 minutes to do this stuff, you'll be successful 100% of the time. I promise you. Just make sure that your stuff goes in the right place. This is the number one thing y'all screw up. Number one, you end up thinking you're editing on your drive and you edit on whatever computer you're working on. Then you leave a lab or something and they wipe the computer and guess what goes to your work? It goes away. All your hard work. Or somebody gets on that computer after you and deletes the stuff because it can happen and it goes away. Or you get a corrupted file and it goes away. Not going to go into backups right now because if you do this right, you should not need to use a lot of backups. But if so, we can find a backup in the event that you run into trouble. If you do these things, you should be successful. Questions so far? All right, let's go and get this guy knocked out. We got 30 minutes. We're going to tell a base story. Spencer, how much time were we working with? 2 minutes, I believe? We want to tell a 2-minute story. So what we know from the footage, because y'all should have reviewed it by now, is we got a go-kart ride check. We got amusement park check. We got some B-roll of Atlanta or a city skyline check. We want to tell a story with that. How do we want to tell this story? What elements do we want to use? First thing I like to do is I want to talk to you guys about how this timeline works. What makes Final Cut unique is that it is a magnetic timeline. Does anybody know what magnets do? So if I have a piece of video here, and you notice this part is darker than this part and this part, right? This is considered the primary timeline. This is considered the secondary timeline. Think of this the way you put on clothes, right? So if this is your undergarment and this is your shirt, what's going to be seen? The undergarment or the shirt? So what's on top is going to be seen, right? So think about that. So what might go up here on top of your primary? Animation, lower third, anything that you want to be seen. Another piece of video. What might go on the bottom then? Because you're not going to see what's on the bottom. Any audio. Think of it that way. The same is going to hold true when we do our Photoshop. What's on the top is seen, what's on the bottom is not. You have to pay attention to that because that can throw you off a little bit. Now, there's two ways to do this. You can use the magnetic timeline, but you don't have to. I found out a way to defeat the magnetic timeline because I'm awesome. And you are too. I'm going to show you how to work within the magnetic timeline because I don't want to confuse you. Y'all aren't advanced enough yet, maybe Santana, to do what I'm trying to do. I know you can do it if I showed you. Did I show you that before, Santana, how to use the gap clip to manipulate? I think I showed you in the video production course, but I'm not going to show y'all. I'm going to show y'all how to do the normal slide and dive. First thing I want to do, and I'm going to walk you through my editing process, and you need the footage or do you have it? All right, just stay with me today and I'll get with you. Just stay watching today. And then I'm going to give you the footage and you can go back and watch this lesson and plug it in. That way if you have any questions, because I'm going to load this video up so you can follow along with it. It's like you have me again. Now, what I like to do is always listen to my music first because the music sets the table for me. It's going to set the mood. It's going to tell me what I'm going to do, regardless of what I want to do. I got an important piece I got to edit this week, and I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to lay the groundwork for the piece and what I want to do. And in that specific instance, I'm going to start with some Nat sound because one guy's moving from an office and he's growing his company. And the last shot's going to be, I had a camera in the box and he put his stuff off the wall and he's like standing there looking at it. Then it just cuts to him walking over to the box and he puts in, it's going to go to black. Then we're going to get into the piece. But that's just how my brain's kind of processing that. That could change, but that's how I'm thinking I want to do that. There is nothing wrong with you experimenting. When you start editing, don't let your sister, brother, boo thing, whoever, mamas and daddy are the worst, get behind you and start telling you, well, I would do this, I would do that. Be like, get off me, back up. Take your time and do what you want to do. This is for you to have fun and play with it and be creative. This is, anybody here ever had a diary before? This is like a diary for you. I want it to be therapeutic. I really do want it to be fun. I know I say that and you're like, oh, this ain't gonna be fun. It should be fun. It takes a little bit of doing first, but it should be fun. I want this to be somewhat therapeutic. And at the end, I want you to be proud of what you do. No matter if it's good or not, be proud of it because you can always get better. So what we want to do here is listen to the music and say, okay, what does this music sound like? I don't even remember from the last time. I think it was kind of sad, emo a little bit maybe. But we're going to listen to it anyway. I think I'm plugged in this time. I hear it, but I don't hear it. Let me go to my output settings. It's kind of hard because I'm working on... That's right. My output is right, but y'all can't hear it. Hold on. No worries, we're gonna listen to here because I don't want to waste the time. All right, let's listen to it again. I'm gonna crank this up. Hopefully everybody can hear it. If not, I apologize. All right, now, I'm feeling that. I'm vibing a little bit. So now, this is what I want to do. I'm going to bring the music down first. I can bring the music down first, and this is extremely important. Make a note of this, make a mental note, or go back and watch the video. This is very important, specifically in Final Cut. Because we already set this timeline, do y'all remember that last week we set this timeline based on what the clips were? And we decided it was gonna be like 30p or something like that, 30 frames a second. So this is set, whatever I drop to the timeline shouldn't change anything. And I use the caveat shouldn't, but because we already set it. So we wanna bring our music down first and we wanna layer on top of it. I don't really like to do it this way anymore because I've become quite advanced, but we're gonna give it the old college try, as they say. So we're gonna grab this audio, and you see that hamburger helper hand that showed up right there? There's two ways to bring footage down to the timeline. You can grab it with the hand and drag it down, whether it be a specific clip. I don't like to do that. I like to use E as an echo on the keyboard. I click on the clip and I hit E and it drops down to the timeline. Don't have to worry about taking these notes because they don't apply in Premiere, unless you want to try this way. So I'm gonna click on it and I'm gonna hit E, bloop, and see there it goes. Look up. Your best friend in this editor is Command Z. Guess what that does? Help them out, Santana. What does Command Z do? Huh? Goes backward, undoes, close. So if you ever get in trouble, hit Command Z and it'll go away. But I clicked on my music I want, I'm going to hit E. And watch see how I drop down. Look how efficient that is. More importantly, it's fast, right? Now let me show you what a magnetic timeline does. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna come back to your question. See how this is at the end? Final Cut is the superior editor to every other editor because it has two playheads. It has the actual playhead and then it has the secondary playhead, which if you hover here, I think it is called the skimmer. Now, the skimmer is the actual wife or girlfriend. The playhead is the boyfriend or the husband. So which follows which? Which is in charge, the skimmer or the playhead? The skimmer is the wife or the girlfriend. The playhead is the husband or the boyfriend. Which follows which?
In this case, the playhead.
Huh?
The playhead.
Nah, man, you know, the lady always in charge. People would joke and say otherwise, but wherever that girlfriend or wife goes, look what happens. Watch that husband. Bloop, bloop. That's very important to understand the dynamic there. That's actually on the test. Which is in charge, the skimmer or the playhead? And the answer is the skimmer, if you take the certification test. That being said, we kind of are getting in the groove. We got our music on the timeline. Yay, we're getting close to where we need to go. Let me show you magnetics, and then I want to show you how to count. I know y'all learned it in like pre-K, but I'm going to teach you how to count again. We're going to grab one other clip, and I'm going to go to City, and I'm just going to grab a clip, and I'm going to go to the end. I'm going to hit E, and that clip goes in. Watch what happens here if I cut the end of this clip. Everybody look up for a second. I want to show you how magnetic timelines work. I'm going to cut the end of this clip, and then watch what happens. What happened? I'm going to do it again. Watch what happens. What happened? Not only did it delete, but what happened to the two clips? That's what a magnetic timeline does. They suck in together. No other editor does that directly. Premiere kind of does it, but not the same way. That's what makes this editor so quick. Once you make your cuts and moves, you can really get going once you get good at it and understand where you are. That's how you can get done so quickly. Now, what was your best friend again, I remember? Not Control. In your case, Control, but Command. That takes you back. The cool thing about Final Cut, there's an unlimited amount of undos. You get screwed up, just keep Command Z until you get back to a point that looks kind of familiar. I want to teach you how to count real quick. We got 20 minutes. I'm trying to cram as much as I can because the stupid door was broke. All right. We count the opposite direction when we count. Normally you count like this way. So what would you say this time was, everybody? How long would this piece be if you had to guess? Hold on, speak up. What? 1 hour. 2 minutes. How many seconds? 1 second. And how many frames? 27. Everybody, this is very important for video. Make sure you take a note. This is very important. We don't go left to right. We go right to left. because frames equals seconds, seconds equals minutes, minutes equals hours in video. So if I were to look at this, this whole thing is 2 minutes and 1 second, roughly 2 minutes and 2 seconds if I had a few more frames there. But every 30 seconds or so, we're going to get another frame. And I'm going to show you that in a second. But we count video in frames, seconds, minutes, and hours. That 1 hour is there as a reference point. Ignore it, because there's only a 2-minute piece of video. We know that because we can look at the actual timeline here to see that. Does everybody see where I'm at? Yours won't have that 1 hour there. If you were to pull the music down, it'll be that 2 minutes and whatever. That is 2:01. But I want to show you something. I'm going to go back to the left, and to go all the way to the beginning, if you're on a full-size keyboard, you would hit home. But since you're on a laptop like me, you're going to hold function and you're going to hit left arrow. And this works the same in Premiere, I think, too, Spencer, to go left and right. I'm pretty sure it is on the Mac. Anyway, function and left arrow. See how it took me to the beginning? Function and right arrow takes me to the end. And I'm just holding function and I'm hitting left arrow and right arrow. I'm not going to show you a ton of shortcuts, just a few. Excuse me, is everybody with me? All right, next thing I want to show you is a gap clip, GAP. Very important, very useful. Write it down. This gives you a little bit of space, gives you a little bit of wiggle room so that you can actually do your edits. So I'm at the very beginning of the clip, and I don't want to start like this. I do, but I don't. I want to give myself a little bit of room because I want to have my video dissolve in out of black, real like dramatic like. So what I want to do at the very beginning, because I'm editing on the primary timeline, right, because it's darker, I want to go at the beginning, so I've moved my playhead there. I'm going to go up to edit. And I'm going to go down in this list, and it's hidden. You got to keep going down. You see there's a down arrow right there until I see insert generator. And I'm going to say gap clip. And again, don't worry about getting lost because this video is going to come out. So you'll have this information in video form to go back to and refer to. See how I put this little gap clip right here? And that's all that is. And let's see how long it is. How long is that gap clip, Max? Look up here. Not 3 minutes. Huh? 3 seconds. Correct. Because what's this right here? And then what's this? So how long is it? 3 seconds. Absolutely. Don't get scared about, if you just say a wrong answer, I'm going to say, Max, you're wrong. You all right? You did good. So it's 3 seconds. You can stretch it out. You can make it as long as you need. You can make that thing as long as the whole timeline, which is another technique that I like to use, but I'm not going to show y'all because this is already confusing enough. So we're going to keep that at 3 seconds. What I want to do is I want to show you a standard cross dissolve. Let me show you where your transition table is. And this is what I get scared because y'all college folks, man, y'all will mess it up. If you look here, this is your primary toolbar up top. That shows you which program you're in and all the stuff that goes along with it that's corresponding. In the center of Final Cut is a secondary toolbar. And if you go over to the right, you have, and if you hover over, it'll tell you what it is. That's your effects tab, but the one I want is right beside it. That looks like a sideways hourglass. That's your transitions. So if you click in there, you can see all of your different transitions that work. Now, what's cool about Final Cut is there's a ton of ways to do different stuff, just like there is in Premiere. But I like to keep it simple because I'm all about speed. That being said, I like to use the standard cross dissolve, which is the first option there. You can drag it in, but I'm going to tell you the shortcut so you'll know it. If you click between two clips, you see how right now, I really need a laser pointer. I've said that for like 6 years because I walk back and forth. Christmas, anybody, laser pointer? You got left and you got right when you hover in that space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click in that space and it's going to give me that little, see how it's giving me that little golden backward C? I'm going to hit Command and T for transition. It's going to ask me, it says it doesn't have enough media. I don't care. I want the computer to be smart enough to create it, and it's going to create a cross dissolve. And you see how it created that little dissolve there? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do that again. How do I get back? Because I screwed up. Command Z. So somebody help me. Gap clip, quick. How do I get there? Huh? Go to the top. That was right. But where do I go up top? Edit. Then where? Yep. So I have to scroll down. Then what I click on? Gap. Then what do I do to add my transition? Huh? What do I do? I can't hear you. Speak up. It's okay. I need to go over here, right? And I need to click. And you can click on either side and it'll still do the same thing. So that's, by the way, you can click on either side of this clip. It'll do the same thing. I'm going to do it on this side, the other side this time. I'm going to hit Command what for transition? T. Command T. It's going to ask me to create it. Should I create it? Yeah. Boom. And it gives me my transition point. And all I did was give myself a little space. Now, technically, you don't need to do that in this case because of how this song starts. But some songs that you're going to want to use are going to start abruptly, so you just want to be careful. All right, let's go ahead and get busy. So I want to listen to the audio from here. Stand by in 3, 2. What I like to do is add some markers. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm just going to feel this and see how I like it, see how it goes. So I'm going to look for my first clip. I'm going to start with the city shots. I've got only a few, so I've got to be sparing. So they should be in order of how they went down. So I'm going to start in this tunnel. And as he goes, ah, I want to come into the light. You follow me? Let's see if that's going to work. I'm just winging this, by the way, just like you would be. And this is how you start editing, you guys. I'm being serious with you. Anybody that tells you anything other is full of crap. They might pretend they got it better together, but they don't. It's all you're just feeling around to make sure the pieces work. Now, there's net sound on this piece, and that sounds like poop, right? You hear all that road noise from the wind? We want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is, if you look right here, if I hover down, you're going to see that arrow change to a line. You see it up and down? I'm just going to click and hold, and I'm going to pull that all the way down because I don't want that audio. And all I did was remove that audio. Now, because this whole clip has the gold around it, I can move it anywhere that I want. And I'm going to move it to the beginning, and I'm just going to see how this looks before I start to do anything else. So I'm probably going to start it about right here because I want that light to happen. So I want to show you tools now because now is the time for tools. There's really two tools that I use and there's shortcuts for them. One of the shortcuts is A as in alpha on the keyboard, just the letter A, and the other is B as in blade. And that's what I use. And the A stands for your select tool and the B stands for your blade. If you ever need to find your tool tray, it's right here on that secondary toolbar. If you click that down arrow, it gives you all of those things right there. So I use blade and I use select all the time. So right about here, I want to hit blade because I want to use my blade tool. But let me show you guys a pro tip. Because I see the arrow here and I know that I want to use my select tool, I'm going to hold B. I'm not going to let go. I'm just going to hold it. I'm going to click, then I'm going to let go. And what did it go back to? On its own. The select tool, right? I want to watch again. I'm going to hold B. What it turned to right now? Razor blade, right? I'm going to let go. What it turned to? The select tool. That's how I do it. That's a pro tip. You can hit B, but now guess what I got to hit to go back to my select tool? I got to hit A. So I have to go back and forth. If I just hold B, make my cut, and then let go, it does it without me having to do that. That's a pro tip. Makes editing a lot faster. Question, yes?
Wait, so
You had a question too. I'm going to come back to it.
you wouldn't use like trim for anything?
Nah, I chop. No need to trim. You can trim, and I'm going to show you, you can do, when I delete this, I'll show you the things. Another thing I want you to pay attention to, remember how I told you about a magnetic timeline? This is the primary magnetic timeline. You see these little notches right here? That little blue one right there, since I made a cut, it made another one. Those are called nodes. And those nodes are where they're connected. So if I were to delete this, guess what would go with this? If I was to delete this right here, guess what would also be deleted? Everything that's attached to it, right? So what's attached to it? Boop, boop. I'm going to show you. That messes a lot of people up in Final Cut. I'm going to make a cut right here. I'm going to delete the music from there. Watch what happens. You see what happened? And people are like, oh my God, what happened to the top part of my clip? It's because you have to pay attention to that attachment point. Very important. But I can delete this top one because remember, it's not on the primary timeline. Nothing happens. Follow what I'm saying? Is everybody kind of with me? And if I move this up, you'll see that attachment. You see that attachment hanging on? I can't show you both, but you see that line that's connecting it? So wherever I hit that at, you have to be careful, because if I were to make a cut right there and delete that, everything on top of it or on the bottom would go with it. So you have to pay attention to where those attachment points are. Now let's talk about trimming for a minute, because that's what you just talked about. Cutting is way faster and more efficient because I can trim by just dragging one way or another. But look at that. The only time I trim is if I'm trimming to a specific point. So if, for instance, there's an interview of you and you're talking and you're like, or but, or you got a person saying, you know what I'm saying? Or mopping their lips and stuff. I'll go right before that and I will nudge it. So all of our computers have a left, right, up, down arrow. And what I'll do is, let's say I'm getting your interview and you are talking and I don't like it, I will nudge it up just a few to there. Then I will trim up to that point. You could also cut to that point, but that's completely up to you. I want to tell y'all something else about Final Cut real quick, and this is important. Again, all this stuff will be in this video, so don't panic, because I know I'm giving you a lot in a short amount of time. I have on something very important called snapping. And if you look right here, it's right here on this secondary toolbar. The shortcut is in, but what snapping allows me to do is, watch this. If I get close to the end or beginning of any clip, it just automatically snaps on. See how I did that? I'm not doing that. The computer's doing it. If I get close to the beginning or the end, it automatically snaps on. If snapping is not on, I might think I'm at the end of a clip, and I think I'm there. But if I zoom in on closer inspection, look where I'm at. Mess you up many days. That's why snapping is so important, because it takes you, bam, right to the end of that clip or right to the beginning. So I usually keep the skimmer on, and I also keep the snapping on personally. And let me move this timeline back out, because that's how you stretch it out when you're doing fine editing. I'm not talking about fine editing. I can talk to you about that one-on-one, because again, I don't want to show you everything. I want to show you enough to get by so you can get started. All right. Let's lay 2 or 3 pieces of video on the timeline, and I will be out of time for today. Unfortunately, we will wrap this up on Wednesday, and then that gives me 1 whole week to do Premiere, so I better get on my game. All right, so let's go ahead and move this guy back here. Let's see what this looks like now. Stand by. How do I get back to the beginning again? It was function what arrow? Yep, hold function, go left. We're gonna hit the space bar to play. I use the space bar. Real editors tell me I'm a loser for using it. They use J, K, and L, but I use the space bar. What L does is L moves you forward, and the more times you hit L, it goes faster. J moves you backwards. K stops you. I ain't got time for all that. I just use space bar. Space bar works just fine in Premiere and in any editor. So I use space bar. Let's try it from here. Stand by. And since we got this light going that way, it should turn. Almost. We're going to trim a little bit and hope didn't go what I wanted to do. Sorry, wrong thing. What I'm going to do now is put my long transition in. What was my transition shortcut? Command what? Transition? Now let me show you something cool about this transition. I just put the transition in. See how short it is? I'm going to make this a little bit wider so I can grab some meat. You can click on the edge of this thing and you can stretch it out. Look at that. Now, remember I told you Final Cut doesn't save, right? You see these little dotted lines up here? That's called help, I need to be rendered. When Final Cut renders something, that's it actually saving the project. So let me show you how to render real quick. What we're gonna do is I'm just going to hit Command A to grab it all real quick. I'm gonna go up to Modify, and I'm gonna go to Render Selection. So again, I just hit Command A, I went up to Modify, and I went up to Render Selection. And you're gonna see those little dotted lines disappear as it renders. And it shows it up here once this little pie gets full. So we got a check and a circle, and now we have no more dotted lines, which means it saved my work. Let me show you one more thing, because again, it's a rabbit hole. This is important when you first open Final Cut, especially for those of you that just bought Final Cut. Your machine may be rendering on its own, and a good rule of thumb is I don't want anything to do anything I don't tell it to do. So what we want to do is when we first open Final Cut for the first time on our computers, we want to check something. And you only have to do it the very first time. You want to go to Final Cut. You want to check Preferences. You do this too, Morris. And then you want to go to Playback, and you want to make sure that background rendering is turned off. Again, you want to go to Final Cut. In the top, you want to go to Preferences, which is the second option. You want to go over 3 to Playback. Then you want to make sure background rendering is turned off, and then just get out of that menu. That's going to make sure that you're not using unnecessary computer power. Because otherwise you might be trying to do something complex and the computer's trying to save it and it's fighting with you. You're going to get the little spinning wheel. You're going to crash. Let's look at this beginner again. Stand by. I'm going to slide this a little bit. I'm going to bump it. Let me get it out of the color. Almost. Same kind of thing. And I'm just going through, I'm hitting transitions, and I'm working this in until I get the look that I want. I'm going to step this up. Better. Then I would, like personally, my specific style, I want to see what the music does next. So now that I know that I have that, I'm going to get rid of that cut. And right when that hit, I'm going to change to something else. Now, I'm pulling it down this time just to show you, but what else can I do, you guys? What shortcut can I hit? E. Let me show you what might happen. See what happened? Oh my God, what happened? Where'd it put it? Right. That's why my brain automatically knew to drag it. So if you're working in the secondary timeline, you do need to drag your footage down. Again, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to grab this audio off. I want to see what it looks like. Then we're going to go from there. Stand by, 3, 2, and. Then we'll change again. Now, I got some other stuff I want to do because I'm going to play with color, but I'll show you guys that in another lesson. So we're starting to get our bearings. Again, Rome wasn't built in a day. How many times you heard that before? It takes time to do this. And it takes a little bit of time. That's why we charge so much to edit, because your base idea is not what you're going to end up with. So what we're doing now is getting some ingredients on the timeline. We're going to finish that the first half of the class. Then we're going to pretty up and we're going to render it out for the second half of the class on Wednesday. Any questions? Yes? Because I put music in first, and whatever's first automatically goes to the primary. There is a way to combat that. I don't want to show you that, but you could put your clips down first and edit off of that. But what am I editing to? So it technically does need to be on the primary timeline because I'm editing to it, not to the clips, if that makes sense. But you can wiggle around that. That's an excellent question. Yes?
Back on rendering, did you say turn background render
Off. Yep, keep it off. It'll help your computer stay healthy. Before you close, again, if you look up real quick, guys, you see I got some dots. I always hit Command A. I always go up to modify, and I always go to render selection. And then I watch this little guy up here, and when it fulls up and hits the check, we're done. We can go ahead and quit Final Cut. And you have to quit Final Cut before you can eject your hard drive. You can't do it otherwise because Final Cut will use it, and it will tell you can't do it. That's it for today. Listen, this is good stuff, you guys. We're getting into it. We're going to go ahead and get it done. I'm pretty excited. I do have a roster for you to sign. Please go ahead and sign that. I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your Monday.